So we're going to be reacting to Ben Shapiro's, I guess, apparent fiery speech that he had at TPUSA. So let's get into it.
Relies on truth. This country relies on truth because victory, true, real, lasting victory.
Also, I did hear that he paid a lot of money to appear at TPUSA, like $1 million. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, allegedly, but yeah, it's also kind of weird because I thought also that he didn't like Charlie Kirk, so it's also kind of weird that he's here. But a lot of weird things are going on ever since Charlie died. So
cannot be achieved without truth. Victory without truth is victory for a lie, and that is no victory at all. And unity without truth is no unity. It is merely solidarity in falsehood. You see, we live in a chaotic time, and a time when lots of people are asking lots of legitimate questions about the conservative movement. What ought we to think about the relationship between free markets and traditional virtue? How should we craft a pragmatic foreign policy that spreads our interests and upholds our ideals? What governmental means are appropriate to achieve political ends? All of these questions aren't new, of course. They've been asked for as long as human beings have been talking about politics, thousands of years. And over the course of this conference, you'll hear a lot of opinions on a lot of these questions. I have my own perspectives on them, of course. You can hear them every single day on my show. My fundamental values have been the same for 25 years. Peace through strength on foreign policy. Traditional values on social policy. Free markets with regard to economics. But today, I want to talk about something even more important. How to discern those attempting to speak truth from frauds and grifters.
I heard he pays people to cheer for him at his speeches when he gives them. That's crazy if that's actually true.
Because something is new. An informational environment rife with both opportunity and chaos. Opportunity because the legacy media gatekeepers are no longer in charge of what we see and what we hear. And chaos because an anarchic informational environment means we actually have to be smart in how we assess the information and arguments that we hear. Why does that matter? Well, because today the conservative movement is in serious danger. It is in danger, not just from a left that all too frequently excuses everything up to and including murder. The conservative movement is also in danger from charlatans who claim to speak in the name of principle, but actually traffic in conspiracism and dishonesty, who offer nothing but bile and despair, who seek to undermine fundamental principles of conservatism by championing enervation and grievance. These people are frauds, and they are grifters, and they do not deserve your time. And they are something worse than that. A danger to the only movement capable of stopping the left from wrecking the country wholesale. So today, I want to discuss 5 obligations that people who speak to you on matters of importance have to you. I want to speak to you about our duties. Our first duty is truth. We owe you the truth. That means we should not mislead you. It means we shouldn't hide the ball. We shouldn't be deliberately obscure about what we're telling you. We have an obligation to clarity and to honesty. This means that we actually have to be clear in the language that we use. We should not traffic in generality. We should not say things like, they shot Charlie, without specifying whom we mean by they. The person who allegedly shot Charlie Kirk, and whom all the evidence points at, all of it, is a gay, trans-loving furry.
So, all the evidence does point to him, but it doesn't all line up as to how he actually shot him. Like the angle, the bullet, the weapon he used. Like, that's all that just doesn't line up. So, yes, all the evidence points to him, but he could just be a patsy to where it looks like it's supposed to point to him, but we're actually missing out on the actual guy. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to actually investigate and ask questions.
If we are going to target ideological movements, we should talk about the fact that the radical trans movement treats all those who oppose it as existential threats. Or if we're going to talk about the Democratic Party making room for the radical trans movement and echoing its inflammatory rhetoric, well, we should talk about that. Those are specific problems, and they require specific responses. When people say they shot Charlie, however, they are instead trafficking in vagary that results in increased hatred without proposing any effective response. They are fostering despair and rage, and that makes things worse. We must also be honest about what people say and do, regardless of what that means coalitionally. It is the job of politicians to build coalitions. It's the job of those of us who try to shape public opinion to hold politicians to account and to hold them accountable to our values. We must not let fear of audience deter us from telling the truth. We must not let fear of other hosts deter us from telling the truth. So, for example, if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk
It looks like very few people are actually clapping, you know.
If Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk casting aspersions at TPUSA and the people who work here, who worked with Charlie every single day, his best friends, to cast aspersions at Mikey McCoy and Andrew Colvin and Blake Neff and Tyler Boyer, and yes, at Erica Kirk, and to imply or outright claim complicity in a cover-up over Charlie's murder, to spew absolutely baseless trash implicating everyone from French intelligence to Mossad to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder or a cover-up in that murder, then we, as people with a microphone, have a moral obligation to call that out by name. Erica Kirk and TPUSA never should have been put in the position to have to defend themselves against such specious and evil attacks, particularly in a time of mourning. And the people who refuse to condemn Candace's truly vicious attacks, and some of them are speaking here, are guilty of cowardice. Yes, cowardice. The fact that they have said nothing while Candace has been vomiting all sorts of hideous and conspiratorial nonsense into the public square for years is just as cowardly. Second, because we owe you the truth, we owe you the duty to speak out of principle, not personal feeling. It should not matter whether we despise someone or whether we love someone. The question is what they say and what they do, and whether those things are morally decent or not. On a political level, do they foster freedom, justice, and prosperity? On a personal level, do they treat others as they would wish to be treated? Personal feeling is not a substitute for moral judgment. To take again the Candace Owens situation as an example, friendship with public figures who say or do evil things is not an excuse for silence on the matter. Politics is not the sisterhood of the traveling pants. Politics is about principle, and if you are willing to sacrifice basic truth and simple principle in favor of emotional solidarity, you have betrayed your fundamental duty to the American people. First off, I should break the omerta here and just be a little bit clear. The notion that people in our industry are close friends, like we all take holiday breaks with each other and go to each other's kids' graduations and stuff, is generally untrue. Some people do that, most of us don't. We see each other at conferences and we talk on the phone and all the rest. We're business colleagues. But even if it were true that other public figures were our best friends, our very best friends, that does not relieve us of our duty to speak out of principle and not to cover up evil or shy away from addressing it out of friendship. So no, Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA. To mirror her bullshit lines of questioning because you love Candace personally. The same holds true of Megyn Kelly, a person I consider a friend, characterizing Candace as a young mother and thus shying away from condemning her actions or fibbing about them. That is a non-starter. Meghan Markle is a young mother.
I think or what most people are doing who are closer people to Candace is they're just, honestly just waiting to see what happens instead of just like going after her. Like me personally, I'd be like, okay, it's kind of weird what she's doing, like with the Macrons and like the questions she's asking. But I would say I'm just gonna wait to see what happens, then I'm gonna give my full opinion on it because it's like I'm coming to a decision on something that's not finished. Like, yeah, of course I'll give my opinion on like what I think is like, yeah, it's kind of weird or like, you know, oh, I've been watching her videos and it's pretty convincing, but like I couldn't give like an approval or a denial on anything because she's not finished with her investigation. So like, there's nothing really to criticize yet. I'll criticize her after she's done, not while she's doing it.
Ilhan Omar is a young mother. That doesn't matter. And when Meghan said this week, quote, my goal and my job here is to try to understand, yes, where Candace is coming from on this, and says she sees no purpose in inserting herself, quote, into this on one side, that is a moral and logical absurdity. There is only one moral side here, Erica Kirk's side. You know, the side of the widow with 2 children, whose husband was shot live on camera in front of all of us. Friendship with the person accusing TPUSA of a cover-up of Charlie's murder is no excuse for cowardice. Third, and relatedly, we have a duty to take responsibility for what we say and do. If we hire awful people, we're responsible for that. I have some experience there, as you might suspect. That means that if we offer a guest for your viewing, we owe it to you to ask the kinds of questions that actually get at the truth. If we agree with the guest, that's fine, but we should own it. So, for example, if you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving, anti-American piece of refuse like Nick Fuentes...
Bro, why is he going on this tirade about him, bro? Like, I get it, like, you don't like him, and he does say a lot of anti-Semitic things. I do agree about that. He does do that, but, like, bro, like... I don't know, man. Like, Ben Shapiro doesn't have the same pull he used to. Like, honestly, now he just looks like a crybaby right now. Like, he's always just crying about just everything, bro. Candace, Tucker, Megyn Kelly, like. But then, like, he's losing his own audience. So it's like, bro, like, I don't know what he doesn't understand that, like, he's losing. Well, he's not losing, but he lost, like, his grip of, like, as a thought leader. Like, now the people leading the, conservative podcasting realm are like people like Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, Myron Gaines, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Charlie Kirk was, Patrick Bet-David is, who else? Brandon Carter. Like, these people were actually leading. He's not a leader anymore. Like, he's the era of like Jordan B. Peterson, and there's Ben Shapiro. Like, I don't know, there's probably another person that was like around there that was pretty big. I guess Milo, I guess if you consider Milo. But like, yeah, like he's of that era. They're the old guard. Like the new guard, like, is different, man.
You know, the Nick Fuentes who said that the Vice President of the United States is a, quote, fat gay race traitor married to a Jeet. The person who said that Charlie Kirk was a, quote, retarded idiot. The person who said, and pardon my language here, it's his quote, that he, quote, took Turning Point USA and fucked it, and that's why it's filled with groypers. If you have that person on your show and you proceed to glaze him, you ought to own it. There is a reason that Charlie Kirk despised Nick Fuentes, and indeed even chided Dinesh D'Souza for debating him. He knew that Nick Fuentes is an evil troll, and that building him up is an act of moral imbecility. And that is precisely what Tucker Carlson did. He built Nick Fuentes up. And he ought to take responsibility for that, just as he ought to take responsibility for glazing pornographer and alleged sex trafficker Andrew Tate, or for mainstreaming fake historian and pseudo-Nazi apologist Daryl Cooper.
Andrew Tate's not a sex trafficker. Those cases got dismissed, so I don't know what he's talking about. That's a lie. He's proven a point why people don't like him to listen to his message because he's just spouting the bullshit of debunked facts that have already came out. I think he was about to say something about who did he just say?
As America's best and most honest popular historian. Hosts are indeed responsible.
Oh yeah, when Tucker Carlson hosted that historian, I think Daryl Cooper, that he thinks Winston Churchill was actually the villain of World War II because he bombed Dresden, even though they're all full of civilians. Let's get this straight. The number one person who actually was a terrible person, number one is Hitler. Number two is Stalin. And then for that war, chuck it at number three, I guess you could say Winston Churchill because he did that Dresden bombing. You can really say that, honestly. Yeah.
Responsible for the guests they choose and the questions they ask those guests. Fourth, because we have a duty to truth, we also have a duty to provide you with evidence of the claims that we make. Emotive accusations, conspiracy theories, and just asking questions, that's lazy and stupid and misleading. None of them are a substitute for truth. None of them are a substitute for evidence. So, when Candace Owens says, "I don't know, but I know," that is retarded, and we are all more retarded for having heard it. When Steve Bannon, for example, accuses his foreign policy opponents of loyalty to a foreign country, he's not actually making an argument based in evidence. He's simply maligning people that he disagrees with, which is indeed par for the course from a man who was once a PR flag for Jeffrey Epstein. Check the record. Our duty to provide you evidence means we actually have to do much more than just ask questions. Just asking questions is something my 5-year-old does, and it's really cute when it comes from my 5-year-old. But when grown men and women spend their days just asking questions without, seeking answers, they are lying to you. In fact, they're doing something even worse. They are seeding distrust in the world around you, and they are enervating you in the process. So, for example, if many speakers, including Tucker Carlson and others, get on stage here at TPUSA and claim, without proper evidence, that Jeffrey Epstein was running a Mossad rape ring being covered up by the Trump administration, they are not actually uncovering a conspiracy or effectuating a solution. They are claiming a special provenance to information they won't let you see, which builds their power and leaves you with none. They are also implicating in their speculation actual human beings, good human beings, like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi, and yes, the President of the United States, even if they're too cowardly to say President Trump's name. And that means you won't trust those good people in the future. You haven't gotten smarter, you've just been manipulated. When forced to demonstrate their evidence, these same people will often refuse to provide it.
Well, I mean, it's other people's fault if you get manipulated and you believe things just based off what somebody says. Like, if you don't do your own research or, I guess, watch a counter argument to whatever you're watching, or, I don't know, what I do is, say somebody says something about, I don't know, a public figure. I'm like, okay, cool. I might go look it up, or I might watch another video of somebody counteracting it, and, I'll come to my own decision of, based off what I see and using my own interpretation, because, I have a brain. I can think for myself. I don't accept everything that somebody says. I look at it. Okay, that makes sense. If I can apply it, I try to apply it. If it works, I'm like, oh, well, then they're right. It's other people's fault if they get manipulated, honestly. It is your job to make sure that you know basically what the right answer is. It's basically your job. Why are you depending on other people to give you the right answer? It's not like they're your teacher. Obviously, if they're your teacher, yes, rely on them to give you the right answer. That's their job. But it's not necessarily their job. People that are, I guess you could say, influencers or internet personalities, even the media, mainstream media doesn't even give you all the right answers. They lie all the time. They always lie. Everybody lies. So it is your job to make sure that you actually know what's going on and you know all the facts, not just based off what somebody says and you just take it in and you just believe it immediately.
They'll claim ignorance. They'll pretend they're outside the system. and they don't have access to actual information. You know, they're just asking questions. But many of these same people have direct pipelines to informational sources. So, for example, if Tucker wants answers to his questions about, say, Jeffrey Epstein, he could call the Vice President of the United States. He's quite close with him. But he won't, because that might undermine the empty speculation. None of this means there aren't actual real conspiracies in the world. Of course there are. But actual conspiracies require actual evidence. Yes, there was a Russiagate conspiracy, and we know the names of the people involved and what they did. We know Hillary Clinton and Fusion GPS and James Comey and Loretta Lynch and Adam Schiff. We know all of those people. Yes, there was a COVID-19 conspiracy. We know that Anthony Fauci worked to shut down alternative solutions from people like Jay Bhattacharya. But when people posit a conspiracy and then...
Yeah, but like, how did those conspiracies come up? Because based off what people are seeing, the evidence, like they see it and then they come to a claim. The reason why they were conspiracy theories. All these things were conspiracy theories, and then they're either proven wrong or right just based off people looking and seeing. Like, he's basically telling you, like, wait for the evidence to come out, then accept whatever they give you. So like, they tell you this is what it is, then you believe it. Like, he's basically saying, like, he doesn't want you to be I don't know, a different type of thinker. Like, you think outside the box, basically. He doesn't want you to think outside the box. He wants you to be in the box, and then the box tells you what to think, then you believe it. Don't come up with different ideas. Stay in this box, and we'll tell you what actually happened, and then you just should believe it. That's basically what he's saying.
Provide you no evidence, they are doing you a fundamental disservice, and they are making you stupider in the process. Finally, because it is our job to make the lives of our audience better, right? That's really our job, is to give you more information to make your lives better. We have a duty to propose solutions. That's why we have to talk about our problems in order to find the solutions. That's what politics was supposed to be about, after all, finding solutions to our common problems. If we speak endlessly about the problems we face, without ever positing a solution other than wrecking the system or centralizing power in a cult-like figure, we are not finding solutions. We are merely making problems worse. Just asking questions, positing vague conspiracies, raving like Alex Jones about the secret confederacies that control your life, none of it makes your life better. None of it. In fact, it makes your life markedly worse. That's because if you truly come to believe that nothing in your life is in your control, you can't even take control of your own life. You despair of your ability to change your own circumstances, and then you fail. And you must not fail. Because here is the most fundamental truth of all in the United States. For all of its problems, many of which, a huge number of which, are real and serious, the United States is still the greatest country in the history of planet Earth. We have the greatest constitution ever devised by man. We have the greatest founding philosophy ever put to paper in the Declaration of Independence. In this country, you can make of yourself what you will. And if there are true obstacles standing in your way, we can all work together to remove them. That, by the way, is the essence of conservatism, that we live in a world created by God with a logic and a rationale, that we as human beings were created in God's image, as it says in the book of Genesis, with creative capacity and the power to choose, and that in a free country of limited government and defined powers, with property rights and equality under law, our destiny is in our hands, and that we all have a duty to make the most of that historic opportunity. Anyone who tries to convince you otherwise is lying to you, and they are making your life worse in the process. Now, that lie may feel good in the moment. It may excuse us from taking the corrective action we can take on a personal level to fix our lives. It might give us someone else to blame for our own failures. But in the end, the lie kills. Not just your future, but the country that we've been given. So, for those of us who talk for a living, that's our job. To discuss America's problems with truth and with evidence. To provide possible solutions. And to encourage America.
That is true. That is your job, but that doesn't mean, how should I say this? it's their job, but it's also our job too to make sure that what they're giving us is actually factual information and it's true. It's both parties' job. It's not just your job. He's kind of doing two things. Like he's basically saying, we want you to be independent thinkers and don't listen to crazy people what they're saying and form your own opinion, but also you should listen to certain people because we're actually giving you all the correct facts. He's saying two things at once. So it's like, what are you really saying? Like, I mean, I agree with it. Like, yeah, don't listen to people that give you the wrong information, and then also be an independent thinker, come up and form your own ideas. But like, it's just kind of weird what he's saying in his speech, really.
To succeed and make great decisions. We who speak to people on a regular basis, who have a microphone and an audience, we have duties to you. The duty to speak the truth. The duty to speak from principle, not personal feeling. The duty to take responsibility for our own actions. The duty to provide you with evidence to do more than conspiracize or just ask questions. And the duty to posit real solutions. And if we fail in those duties, you shouldn't listen to us. But you have duties too. Far more important duties. Duties to God and to yourself and to your families. The duty to do the best for yourself and your family and your country with the abilities that God gave you. The duty to be grateful for this extraordinary country. The duty to celebrate what we've all been given and to fight to preserve it. All of that, every bit of that, begins with truth. We owe you that quest for truth. You owe yourselves that quest for truth. And true victory only comes through truth.
Alright, I guess that's it. What did you guys think of his speech, really? I'm kind of curious. I thought it was good. I also think it was kind of interesting. Like, he immediately appeared right after Erica Kirk, which is kind of interesting how that happened. You know, I would think it'd be somebody more who was close to Charlie Kirk and more close to TPUSA. But, hey, man, whatever. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble. So, yeah, catch you guys later.